Hello, beautiful, and welcome to Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox from findingfertility.co, and I created this podcast to help get you to start thinking outside of the box and realize that your infertility might have nothing to do with your lady bits. Rooted in functional medicine and personal experience, Finding Fertility is all about looking at the whole body and finding the root cause of your infertility. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any issues of infertility, but what we do is take a holistic approach and improve your diet and your lifestyle to get you steps closer to creating your dream family. Just by being here with me, listening to this podcast, you're already going down the right path to making your dreams come true. Let's do this together. Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox. I am super grateful that you are here becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Today, we have the second half of our podcast discovery call. This is where we get deep into a really hidden, or maybe not so hidden. I think she was pretty honest with knowing that this was a big issue for her, but maybe a realization that these things from our past absolutely contribute how we have been moving through our lives and how we've been showing up in our fertility, and what could be potentially something we need to work through until we're ready to receive our babies. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode.
And
Yeah.
I've tried a lot. I've tried counseling and meditation and visual, and I've tried it all. And I really have I've struggled uh to try to discontinue that cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
And do I feel that that's a fertility block? I absolutely 100% believe it.
okay.
Yeah, I buy into it 100%. It's got to be, right? Like it's almost like, well, why would a child come on this earth with a parent who's constantly going to be like thinking that the child's failures are my fault? You know what I mean? Or you know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like it's I totally get that. It's just I need to figure out what that solution is, and it's taken a long time and I still haven't gotten there.
Yeah. Because you're very, very smart. You can consciously say everything that needs to be said, and you understand what you need to do.
Mhm.
But it's that kind of leap of faith of really getting connected with that. Are you religious?
I grew up Catholic, but I don't practice it. I believe that there is something out there that's bigger than us. I'm not quite sure what I believe. Growing up Catholic it does one thing or another. You either continue to buy into it or it completely deters you off being religious. It's one or the other, and it's because there's so much doctrine and dogma um, and misogyny and within that religion and how it's organized that you lose a lot of faith, and it's disheartening because it's such an institution, and I don't believe that religion should be so institutionalized. Yet Catholicism is the biggest institution of them all, right? So I I'm I believe in energy, and I believe there's something bigger. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Yeah. I grew up Catholic, so I
Oh, so you
understand
know.
completely.
You know.
And it's nothing against the religion. Like you say, you go one or the other way, and sometimes it's weird to be sitting on the fence, and that's a weird place to be too. And that's part of the journey, right? When you start kind of wanting to go the opposite way, it's a little bit scary to leave. Okay. Um, your dad and the control. Do you think your dad's still present with you? Do you feel like you've ever, I know you said you felt free the day he died.
Big time.
Do you feel completely free of his
No,
indoctrination and his
no,
judgment?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that, there is some residual. stuff that he absolutely left behind, like a film almost.
Yeah.
I don't feel his presence. I don't hear him. I don't see him. I don't dream about him. Um, I don't think that he's around. If he might be, who knows, right? I just don't get the sense, and I don't go to him or the idea of him for comfort. Um, but I do believe that there was uh, what's the word? I'll come up with it, but um, there has been some damage left behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some debris. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Is that I feel that he has left debris for sure, and I'm not quite sure if if he's present.
Yeah. No, like I didn't mean it like present, but like the debris. That's
Mhm.
what I was looking for.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Um,
for sure. Yeah. Hmm.
have you ever forgiven him?
Hmm. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Thanks to the counseling I have received in the past, I have found ways to empathize with the person that he was,
Mm-hmm.
because with the upbringing that he had, um, it's kind of it would be ridiculous to think that he wouldn't turn into the person that he was.
Yeah.
He is very much a product of the parenting that he received, and the environment was. But at the same time, this is kind of my thing. I always tell people you have it until 25 years old, because 25 years old is when the prefrontal cortex stops developing, right? And you officially become an adult. And by the time you're 25 years old, you've had the opportunity to, through media, television, movies, your social network, school, books, you've had the opportunity to discover and investigate other types of parenting, other types of families, other types of relationships to make a decision on what kind of person you want to be, what kind of relationship you want to have, and what you want to put out into the world. So, yes, we are a product of our nurture. Um, but at 25, it becomes nature,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to start thinking, okay, now, yes, my parents did a crappy job. We get it. But now it's up to you. You can make those changes now because you've been educated. So you can't blame your parents. You can only blame your family and your parents so far, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it would have been difficult for him to be better or do better with the upbringing he had, and being in constant financial demise, and having those struggles. But at the same time, we all have the power to kind of do different and be better, right? And I feel like he just wasn't interested in that self-improvement element,
Yeah.
so I think, so sometimes I look at him and I say, I don't forgive you because you had a lot of time to do better,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people around you to show you different ways of being. But at the same time, I do forgive him because I think, well, coming from that, it would have been tough. So I go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
What do you think would make you not go back and forth anymore? What would it take for like full forgiveness?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that one before, which is interesting. What do I need? And the funny thing is, the fact that I'm having trouble coming up with something maybe means that it's this is on me now and not him, right? It's because I guess to forgive, do we need a reason? I don't know. Yes, no. I don't know the answer to that question. Um and if we don't need a reason, then it's redundant. But if we do need a reason, what is that reason? I'd have to think about that one. What would I need him to do? Like, if he came back from the dead and apologized, I'd still be pissed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would still be mad. Like, I would be like, fuck off, and part of my language, I can edit that out if you want. But I would still probably like tell him where to go. So like, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's anything he could do. I think he's out of the picture now. I think it's on me.
Okay.
It's
So
probably so, yeah.
coming back, what can you
Yeah.
do for yourself to take steps for full forgiveness towards him? Because it's not going to be overnight, right?
No,
Like we
no.
know that. But we can believe that we can get there and we can take the action steps. And I have the whole body chills. So this is spirit saying, yes, you can do this. And this is essential for your happiness.
I think the word is acceptance, perhaps.
Mhm.
Just accepting that if this is who I am and I don't change at all, like I don't do better on myself, I don't grow, I don't get more education, I don't get a better career. This is just it for me. That's okay too. Like the other stuff is okay, it's great, but this is okay too. Just accepting, like it's almost like accepting that this is enough, but I always feel like it's never enough.
Yeah, and that's another thing, never feeling like it's enough. And even though I do believe that you thrive on learning and all that kind of stuff, it's very obvious that there is definitely a subconscious link to just never going to be enough.
Yeah.
Never going to be enough in his eyes.
Yeah.
And when you act out of I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go do the things that you could never do for your life. And it's a great motivation, right? It's definitely got you to a place where, you have the financial freedom or the support you have, you have it. But with a fertility journey or any kind of journey that you can't type A your way out, get out of it by doing more, by achieving,
Yeah.
right? That's
Right.
when you have to take a step back and go, I need to reevaluate everything because there's something holding me back that I can't control, and it is the within. And it's almost a little bit painful, a lot painful.
It's very painful. It's
Yeah.
painful to look within. It's painful to look
Hmm.
at your faults and where you've missed things, because it's painful to be disappointed in yourself.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's, refraining, like, not saying it in that way of like your faults and like what you didn't do right, because we do better when we know better.
Yeah.
We have that conscious ability, right? And we have to um think about how we would want to be spoken to as a child. How would you speak to, your children that you're going to help in the future, your own and the ones you may work with,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
would never be like, "Oh, that was your fault. That was your responsibility." You'd be like,
Mhm.
How can we grow from this? How can we
Right.
learn? How can we discover?" Um, but yeah, I definitely wonder if this kind of like um this failure just has it, like the subconscious of it all is just so heavy on you that it doesn't allow for the physical things to happen, even though things are fine. I'm still like feeling my way through that because in my conscious brain, I'm like, surely that can't happen. Like that's crazy. Like really, like spirits, that energy is that powerful that it can override the physical act of even IVF, like that shit should work 100% of the time. Like it's crazy, right? I get it when there's physical issues, why it doesn't work. But when there's this energetic stuff, it still blows my mind that that could be a possibility. And the reality of it is that you get a choice. And I think you've already made your choice in the sense of like, because you're still digging, you're still showing up for yourself. And I feel like you have this deep belief that it is possible for you, and you haven't figured out what your missing piece is. And
Absolutely.
now maybe you're able to look at the hardest thing you need to do to make it happen for you. Because the diet's easy, the supplementation's easy. Hell, IVF is easy compared to opening Pandora's box and looking at all those deep childhood emotions.
Do you have a suggestion of how Pandora's box can be opened?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm feeling so much resistance now. And that is like part of my journey too. But okay. Uh so I use a modality called Psych-K. And if you want to get into it, we'll pause the recording because I can't record myself doing it. It's just in the contract when you learn.
Oh, of course. What was it called?
It's called Psych-K.
Psych-K. Okay.
So the psyche is it's a shitty name. We've all said it. Very confusing name, but it's been around for 30 years. I don't know why it's still such a secret. I have not figured that out for myself. Even when you go and do the training, you sign a contract saying you're not going to tape yourself doing it. Um, anyways, psych is like the psyche. Like, right? That's where everything happens.
Mhm.
It starts there. It starts with an imagination. Everything that we have around us, someone thought of it, imagined it, took the action steps to create it, right? Think about that. Your phone, someone thought about this before it became physical.
Right.
A baby, for most of the part, you think about it before it comes physical. You think, okay, we're ready to try to conceive. Then you take the physical actions to do it, right? So that's the psych. And then the K represents key. Psych is the key, it unlocks everything. Okay. So, what the cool thing about Psych-K is that it's all within you. For me, I'm just a facilitator.
Mhm.
I help you get somewhere that you potentially don't want to go.
Mhm.
Um, and then basically you get into a whole brain state. A whole brain state is basically getting into meditation. When you're in alpha theta, your brain is connected, you're open to source, you receive, you surrender, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's all the
Right.
same thing, just different modalities. Emotional freedom tapping. Have you ever done emotional freedom tapping?
No, no.
Okay.
This is
So
all new.
emotional freedom tapping is another way to release emotions. Psych-K is much easier, I think, but um I use both. Um Emotional freedom tapping is like you tap certain points, you talk
Mhm.
about the situation, you release the emotion. It's very powerful. There's obviously hypnosis, there's like a RIM eye thing, there's all sorts of modalities out there. Psych-K has been the easiest and quickest because you don't actually have to sit there and talk about your emotions. Because I think that's a really big thing for people. One, they don't want to talk about it, they don't know how to express it. Um, and then for me, why I was so into it was because I didn't have a lot of memories. I had a few core ones that I used emotional freedom tapping, but by time I got done, I was like, I know there's still like shit in here. I can feel it, but I
Mhm.
can't articulate why,
Right.
right? And so Psych-K is um just a way to be like, okay, let's just explore.
Mhm.
Okay. So I don't want to, and I can't put words into your mouth because this is your own experience, right?
Yeah.
This is the emotion that you need to tap into, and we're going to change.
Okay.
But when, obviously, we've talked a lot about your dad. It's a big thing. Okay.
Mhm.
And even just the first step is believing that you can give him full forgiveness, right?
Mhm. And to be honest with you, I do, because the weight of resentment is probably the heaviest thing that I've ever felt on my emotions in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would think regret would have a heavier weight because regret is very heavy,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like resentment, um, is, man, it's just, it feels like it's just a bandage you want to rip off. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, it doesn't serve anyone, and you can feel resentment. If you can like address the resentment or like recognize it and reflect on it, you realize what a nasty, nasty thing it is.
Yeah.
Um, because I feel like with regret, like, it's still on you with your decisions and your accountability. But with resentment, you feel like someone else took advantage of your vulnerability. And I don't want to have resentment towards him, and I haven't wanted to have it for a long time. But I think it's absolutely still there, and and I'm not interested anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
done with it, you know?
What do you want to feel?
Um, I want to feel acceptance. I want to feel obviously forgiveness. I want to feel empathy. Um, and just like he was in he was in chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm in chapter 5 now, and it's time to and it's moving forward, because I feel like I take it, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps
Mm-hmm.
forward, 1 step back, when you feel that someone's still has a little bit of a tug on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, and they say, and this is what I feel with my journey, is that you went through those things and that person did those things to you. And like you say, when you become an adult, you get to make a choice. And it
Mhm.
sucks not to see other people make those choices, especially when it's your parents
Yep.
or a sibling, right?
Mhm.
You are preaching to the choir. Um, but you make that choice.
Right.
And the choice that might have been coming from an quote unquote negative place, that drive to get out, achieve, do all those things, that pushed you there, right?
Mhm.
Now we want to start making choices from love and
Yes.
joy,
Yes.
right?
That, absolutely, because I feel like a lot of the choices come from drive. Drive is different,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Drive doesn't really have an emotion, it's a force. And I
Yes.
think I've just been going with that momentum, but not savoring my success,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's awesome that you can be that radically honest with yourself, right?
It's taken a
Because,
while. Like, there was a time, that I would never speak this language.
yeah.
So it's taken me time to kind of get there and practice critical reflection in an effective way, in a honest, real way,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm very thankful for. But I'm not done yet. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I still need to, I got a few more things I got to tackle, right? So,
Yeah. And the cool thing is, what I found is that you heal, heal, heal. You're on this journey, you're going. You make some huge leaps. And then all the healing from those huge leaps gets easy.
right.
And then there's always healing, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
not done with my healing journey, and
Mhm.
there's going to be other shit in my life that's going to pop up and I'm going to have to deal with. But the cool thing is you take these modalities and then you elevate.
Right.
Right? These modalities aren't just for healing, they're
Mhm.
for elevation as
Right.
well. So
Mhm.
that's like the cool thing that like no one told me. Like, don't worry, just keep going and then you'll start elevating. I'm like, oh God, thank God. Or I don't know if it's like the rock gets
Mhm.
lighter because you get stronger or whatever. I mean, you're still moving forward, you're still
Right.
tackling things, but it just seems easier. It seems like the things that come at you, you handle with more grace. Like it's
Right.
just, and I think that's all, it's down to your nervous system. It's down to rewiring your nervous system. It's rewiring your thought patterns, your connections in your
Mhm.
brains. You know all the science behind this, right?
Mhm. Rerouting the synapse.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely agree.
And it's funny in our generation, you can't teach a dog new tricks. An old dog new tricks was so prevalent in my
Yes.
mind that even in my like late 20s, I thought that like, oh, this is it. I'm never going to be anything more than this. I'm the smartest I'm ever going to be, the most talented I'm ever going to be. It's all downhill from here. And I'm in my 40s now and
Mhm.
like excelling in so many ways.
Right.
And even like it's funny with the performance reviews and your public speaking, like if you told me 15 years ago that I would do what I do on social media, no way.
Right.
Like zero. I wouldn't even post like a picture of myself on social media. Now I
Right.
can show up with like no makeup. Thank God for filters. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do use those things. But like I don't feel like I have to be perfect to show up on camera, right?
Yep.
And so I'm not only my fertility journey, but my entrepreneurship and my motherhood. Because the thing that I'm getting to here, and this is, I truly believe this, I think there is a um, certain children who want to come down who don't want to deal with the bullshit.
Listen, and can you blame them?
No.
Okay, this
Right?
world is hard enough as it is. You don't need your parents' bullshit on top of
Yeah.
it. Okay, like
Yeah.
I get
So
it. Yeah.
I think they're just waiting. And you know, the little interactions I've had now with spirit babies and people who have that amazing ability and stuff that, you know, there's various different reasons why. It could be
Mhm.
their own timing. Like I've literally had clients be like, "Oh yeah, my baby doesn't want to be born until this certain date." So they're waiting for that. And you know, like yeah, I had a client who needed to do incredibly like heavy breath work. She was like you, picture of perfection and still wasn't getting pregnant. Just needed this breath work, just had her first baby boy, right? So there's
Mhm.
all these little weird things that it could be at play, but our job is one to figure it out, which sometimes is a bitch to figure out, but
Mhm.
to start living life like they're here. Start parenting yourself like you want to parent your child. Not the
That's
conscious
fasc
way, like, I'm
that's
gonna
a
do different,
fascinating that's a fascinating phrase.
right?
That's a really fascinating phrase.
Because I can guarantee you, I didn't think I had a lot of shit when especially when my second son was born. I was like, I got this. Like, I've been doing this. I'm a chill. He's a spit of me, and he started triggering things inside of me I did not know was there. And luckily, I had the consciousness to go, that's not normal to feel that angry when your kid's crying over a popsicle
Right.
and the rage I used to feel. And then I had to go open Pandora's box. What is this? Oh, that's that bullshit that your parents put on you because they told you not to be Wendy the whiner. Whiners weren't accepted. Stop crying. Big girls don't cry. All that bullshit was so repressed inside of me. So even if you think like I don't have anything to deal with or this isn't going to affect me, I'm not going to show that up that way when I'm a parent.
Mhm.
Your subconscious would be like, bitch, yes you are, because that's all we know. Because we didn't take the time to reparent ourselves. So
That's
you
right.
got to be showing up the way that you want to show up for your children. And sometimes that is just the missing piece for
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
But I still want to see that NK cell test. I still want that confirmation. But okay, so let's get back to this Psych-K.
Yeah.
Um, resentment. Can you feel it bubble up when
Sure.
someone mentions your dad?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
see him
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's times like my sister will repost a photo of him for like the anniversary of his death or like the for his birthday, and I'll look at it on Facebook going, ugh. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't comment. She's allowed to do whatever she wants. She had a different relationship than me. She is a different person, you know.
Mhm.
And but I don't like. I'm just like I kind of like do that click it where like it snoozes or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's do a transformation of stress. Let me grab my book real quick.
No problem.
Okay, so I am gonna pause this recording real quick so we can do this. Okay. Um, explain to me how you feel.
Calmer, maybe slightly empowered. Just kind of the one who is in control,
Hmm.
but very very mildly. Like I'm not like jumping out of my seat or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, this is the first step. Okay. I feel like there's sometimes you can have this huge breakthrough and you feel like, oh, that's it. But what I say to people is that we still need to process and move forward, right? So we have to bring the subconscious and the energy world into the physical world. So when I brought that question up, what do you need? What do you need to do to start stepping forward to full forgiveness to your father, what kind of action steps do you think will be impactful for you to move towards that?
Um, I think maybe the understanding that he doesn't dictate my success or my future. Like, I'm the one who's in control,
Mhm.
perhaps, because I
Yeah.
felt that, when he was alive and, he was parenting me, then I was not in control. I was quite vulnerable and at his mercy.
Yeah. Control. Okay. So in regards to that, have you ever done anything like a cord cutting meditation?
I have, yes. I
Okay.
have,
Have you done with
just,
him?
through YouTube, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I've also like written a letter to him
Yeah.
and burned it, which I found was very effective. But I also feel that the residual effects were quite short term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, okay. So it's deeper. And I wrote down control. Um, so this is something that we need to dig into more because it's not necessarily this one and done. Like, oh, I forgive. And I didn't think it was going to be anyways, right? There's obviously some deep stuff here. What kind of journaling do you do around, if any, or do you allow yourself to wonder and think about this type of stuff often?
I was heavy into the journaling for a period of time, and it was
Hmm.
just, having a place where I can be honest,
Yeah.
that I know that no one else is going to read. And then when the IVF failed, I hadn't journaled since because I don't think I was in a place where I wanted to write it down or
Hmm.
let, or speak it, it was just too much at the time. So I haven't journaled since.
Okay. Have you have you done any kind of like rage expression
No,
towards him?
no. Well, I
Okay.
mean, I do experience rage towards him,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was expressive.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm,
That's what's coming up for me now is that, okay, you've done the gentle stuff, the cord cutting, the forgiveness, the writing the letter.
mhm,
You understand. Um, but some people just need to like punch him in the face.
mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay, so what's coming up is activities to like physically get it out. So whether that's like punching a pillow, taking a bat and like hitting a piñata while you're like screaming it out. I always highly recommend the workout witch. She does somatic movements in the shoulders and the hips, and I'll put this all in your notes, so don't worry about
yeah.
writing it down. Uh, movement to get this out. Breath work. Have you done breath work?
I
Like
have, I
the
have,
Hoffman?
I do enjoy it. I
Okay.
do like doing breath work a lot. It does calm me down.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, does it calm you down or does it help you release?
Hmm. I
Because
think it's
I
more
don't want
calming.
you to calm down. I
Yeah,
want you to get to those places, and you
mhm,
might have to work with someone to have
right.
a secure place because sometimes you can get there. Um, I feel like this isn't a silent thing for you. Like you want to scream it out. Does that feel uncomfortable or comfortable to you? What is that when I say that to you, almost kind of like a public performance, like speaking out loud,
Mhm.
because the journaling might be safe, those private meditations, but what does it feel like? I mean, you've been pretty brave to just come and talk about this all on the podcast. So how does it feel to go that extra step?
I think it depends on who's watching. If
Yeah.
it's somewhere where I'm alone or with someone who I trust, no problem.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay. Yeah, because the deep Hoffman kind of breath of fire breath work,
mhm,
um, if you set an intention that you're releasing, you're letting go, you're not trying to calm yourself down. This is not breath work that
right.
this is, it's fast. Have you done that kind of breath work?
I've done something similar to it during some yoga sessions, but that was the closest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely picking up just like
Mhm.
physical stuff for you. Because you've tried the other stuff.
Yeah, I've tried a lot.
And yes, like you say, it's supportive, but it's still
Mhm.
there. So
Yeah,
why is it still there?
yeah,
Right? You haven't found your modality
that's right.
to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right, my friend. I think that's going to be a huge thing for you to
I'm I'm
tap
I'm
into.
enthusiastic, like anytime that I find something new to try, it gives me hope, right? Because I feel like when you run out of modalities and in treatments and in approaches and perspectives, the light starts dimming, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not ready to put that candle out. I'm
Yeah.
not there yet. I know that for sure. But it's harder to keep it lit every day.
Yes.
So I'm always excited to try new things and to learn different ways I can approach that I haven't already been told. And so far, all of these items are things that I haven't heard of yet, which is fantastic. Um, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. It's been a rough 6 months, and it
Yeah.
it was just it's so nice to have someone who understands. It's
Yeah.
not everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to and this I mean, I do these podcast discovery calls for two reasons. One, I know they're expensive. I know that people have invested a lot.
Mhm.
I wish people would come to me first. I wish I would have come to someone like me first. I spent
Yeah.
$50,000 and it took me 8 years, right? So I understand it. I understand we all have to go through what we have to go through and we show up when we're ready to this type of work.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, it can save you so much time and effort for someone to really help you pick apart what you actually need to focus on,
Right.
right? Like this has nothing to do with your fertility, but yes, it has everything to do with your
Sure.
fertility.
Of course.
I
Of course. I
still
totally
keep
agree.
picking up like this lack, this scaredness, this like, I'm not going to be perfect at as a parent, so I'm just going to keep pushing it away, even
Right.
though I'm trying really hard to get to there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give you some notes and links to things that you can start exploring. Keep tapping into that intuition. Obviously, something brought you here to do this type of work. There'll be ways to work with me. I do just Psych-K sessions or body code sessions where we get and we start unpacking these layers. So people like you, even though I want to see those NK cell tests, don't need the whole physical stuff, right? We
Okay.
really need to hyper focus on what we need to do and surrender that we've done enough in the other area.
Right.
Um, and there be, yeah, I'm gonna send you lots of free resources on YouTube for these things,
Mhm.
but sometimes you can't do it on your own because you're not willing to look as deep as you need to go
Right.
and you need that facilitator. I have a great emotional freedom tapper that I think, even just one or two sessions with would be incredibly beneficial for you. Um, and it's accountability.
Yeah.
You're paying that money, you're going to show up. You're not going to hide.
That's
Where
right.
if you try to do it on YouTube, you could
Mhm.
just go as, yeah, I did it. You know, I feel
I agree.
better.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited for you because this is just going to be like a whole, like I feel like a new chapter, like how you said, like your dad was in those chapters, and he's gonna forever be there, but
Sure.
he's gonna be there in a good way,
Yeah.
in a way that you're not turning those pages in resentment, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, my friend. Anything else
Thank you
before
so
we go?
much. No, that's fantastic. I really appreciate I'm gonna read through all those resources and stuff you're gonna send me,
Yeah.
and it's just nice to have options again. So I really,
Yes.
really appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, take care.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was incredibly helpful to your own journey. I have actually put her show notes. So anytime anyone does a discovery call with me, they get detailed notes after the consultation with links and anything that I think that they need and where they should really hyper focus on. And they're down in the show notes for you guys to have a look. And if you connected with something, use for yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Finding Fertility podcast. If you're loving this podcast, please leave us a rating and review and let us know how this podcast is supporting you to get steps closer to creating your dream family. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, and we will see you next Friday for another episode of the Finding Fertility podcast.